So I was supposed to vote for Tim Kaine and Hillary Clinton? No, because what's going on right now with the Senate banking bill proves that I was right about them not caring. In this particular case, Tim Kaine just puts him in a bad light of black wealth. Black wealth matters. Black wealth is important, at least to a lot of craziness that's going on out here with the lack of black wealth. Because what's going on with the Senate banking bill? It has verbiage that's going to remove some consumer protections as pertains to essentially African Americans, Latinos to a lesser degree, Asians, Native Americans to a lesser degree, and can even apply to age discrimination, and occasionally a few people that live out there in rural America. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This data was going to include not just race, but also age, credit scores, the type of loan product, the rates, the value of the home, to make sure people weren't being subjugated to predatory lending. That was going on before the financial crisis and after the financial crisis. Essentially reverse redlining, where they put black people, especially in these neighborhoods, if they're getting a home in a black neighborhood, they'll add on additional fees and give you ridiculously high rates to pay, hoping you can't make the payments. But if you do make the payments, they get some extra money out of you. But if you can't, which they hope you can't, you can go back to public housing, or you can re-rent homes in that area, apartments, rooms, whatever, when they come in, probably with their buddies, themselves, etc., buy the foreclosed property and make it so you can't own anything. So you're just paying rent and rent and rent. And you're bad off, end up back in public housing where you're not able to build up wealth in a home. That's what a lot of racism is. It's not just some social construct and you're talking about, oh, these people are ignorant and stupid and you're not going to be around them. A lot of racism institutionalized where it's about wealth. And when you start bringing up the wealth question, the wealth issue, things can take a different tone with a lot of people. Black people included that don't know, could be brainwashed, etc. as it pertains to certain things. Most of the time might be ignorance as it pertains to such matters, which is fine. And you can educate them and put them on to some information, and they'll take it in at some point, and they'll realize as they go along. Because it's not simply just a social interaction when you're dealing with racism, even though that's a part of it and can have obviously negative consequences. But that's not what's leeching money out your pocket to bring your wealth down as an African American descendant of slave. And they like to engage in reverse redlining, and subsequently you get redlined out of goods, healthcare, even in grocery stores, where they don't even want to put them in said neighborhoods or conveniently located. And if they do, they'll charge you higher prices to milk the last bit of pennies out of you. So you're just paying into other people's pockets at that point. You're not able to build and grow. And if you do own already, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time getting a loan, getting a home equity loan, so you can fix up your kitchen, fix up your roof, so your house doesn't, fall apart. It gets condemned. They kick you out the house, and someone buys it up cheap on the foreclose. And then you're also fighting the battle, if it's all black community, if your property values could decline at any given time if other people, especially if other white people, don't want to come into those neighborhoods. So yeah, it could rise for a while, maybe a couple of decades, and then it could just fall out of it. It becomes all black. And then as those property values decline and people in those neighborhoods could get upside down in mortgage, people come in, so rental properties for you, so you can rent from there, or it could be a gentrified neighborhood. That's how it works. And enough is enough. Black wealth matters. And I'm going to keep saying that because it's very, very important. Lack of wealth leads to all kinds of things. People doing worse for less. Going to lead to that crime. It's going to look like the early Irish immigrants until they were allowed to be white and allowed to police black people and join society. They haven't allowed black people to fully join society. They keep getting taken advantage of. They keep getting a hustle. Which is all stems back from slavery. Slavery was the first part of being taken advantage of the African American descendant of slave, be it slavery, then Reconstruction. We're not given that free land. You're not able to participate in Social Security. You have a hard time eventually getting homes as it pertains to the GI Bill not being applied to you. Obviously, redlining and Jim Crow, that old school redlining where you just can't get a loan instead of predatory lending. So you're forced into public housing, even though public housing originally started as something when they weren't building a lot of homes during the Reconstruction period. And they actually had white people living in there. It was a temporary place, but then it became a permanent ghetto for black people. They don't want you to have. And then you get into mass incarceration, and then get into predatory lending, which is a reverse redlining. And in some cases, redlining still occur to this day, depending on neighborhoods, depending on a particular city, where you can have all this and this, but they'll give you that runaround. They'll magically find something that probably doesn't matter because they could say, hey, well, you owe this bill from such and such place, this rent from such and such place you missed out on, and until you do that, we can't give you this loan. And they'll tag on fees, and it could give you possibly a high rate. It's ridiculous, and that doesn't apply to everybody. So you think your credit score could even be good, but who knows? And that's why with the Dodd-Frank in 2010, they want to know all that information, including credit scores. They want to see what's going on and the basis behind it. And then in some instances, when you don't have credit, in the traditional sense, like the credit card, revolving credit, they don't take into account you paying utility bills and rent. And that's why some people, even some Republicans, say, hey, hold on, you should include that as well in determining if you're able to pay back the mortgage. There's a lot of sneaky things going on behind the scenes. And when they take, even though major banks aren't going to be affected by this, in terms of reverse redlining, the language is still going to apply to them. But these smaller banks that lend out less than 500 loans per year, which is essentially 85% of the banks that are out there that can lend. So that's still going to be a problem. And a lot of these smaller banks are the ones that tend to lend in these said neighborhoods, because as the bigger banks may not necessarily even want to be in those neighborhoods, especially these black neighborhoods, to a certain degree Latino neighborhoods, especially if you're a brown-skinned Latino in those neighborhoods. They won't have business set up there. And the ones that do come in can be these little small ones, and they can end up taking advantage of you. Because you may not have the knowledge. Because all you see, hey, American dream, let me get this house and do a responsible thing. But that might not necessarily be the responsible thing if it's predatory and it's something that you just can't afford, period. And they're cheating you, saying it has to be this way. You have to pay these rates, even though they wouldn't expect a white person to pay those rates and have those fees. So you have to have that knowledge and that wherewithal to be able to see what's going on in terms of that. And that's why you have to have consumer protection, because not everyone's going to know. And even if people that are in the know as it pertains to certain things, they may not know all the language of what's going on, and in those agreements. So it becomes a buyer beware scenario, and the government job, as we've seen from the Ralph Nader days on, protect people and be the educating force, so you don't end up in a bad situation. Well, the government is rolling back those protections. 12 Democrats supporting it, including Tim Kaine. Are they getting money from these banks? In some cases, yes. We know Heidi Camp is getting some funding from some banking and its affiliates, and she's one that likes to appear on CNBC quite often. So we know she knows a couple of things about a couple of dollars. So she knows what's going on there. It is very, very disappointing that we have to fight these new battles, the same battles, and that people don't realize that black wealth matters. And I think people looking for a handout, but no, nobody's looking for a handout. People looking to be redressed for what was stolen, and going forward, they ain't got to deal with this. Some people just don't know. They just don't understand what's going on out there. They don't understand that even if you got some means, the best bet for you may be, and actually if you don't have means, if it's too many black people in said neighborhood, it gets to more than 5%, problems arise. And if the minority population in general in that neighborhood goes about 15%, problems happen. Hence your home value is going to end up declining. And that's where it stands right now. If the community ain't 85% white, that neighborhood, there's a good chance that your property value will decline at some point. That's what it is. And even in terms of when you get to traditional redlining, that still goes on in certain areas where they use certain tactics. Sometimes the only way to get into those neighborhoods, maybe if you have a co-signer or someone else on the mortgage, whether it be someone in a relationship with, a friend or whatever, if they happen to be white or Asian, that might work out better for you. It's a good chance it will. They're more liable to engage with them. So if you're a black woman, you may need a white man, Asian man. If you're a black man, you might need a white woman, an Asian woman in your life, or man, whatever your orientation is. Man for man or woman for woman, even though it has its instances of discrimination as well, but not as much as it pertains strictly to race. And then you have a better chance of securing those loans for those homes. So that's what it is. Not to say there's anything wrong with any kind of racial relationship, whether it be interracial or the same race, etc. That's not what it is, but they are penalizing black people grouped up together in the home. So that's funny. Like, it may be better to be interracial for home buying purposes in those kind of relationships, be it friendly or a romantic relationship. That's the unfortunate way that it is right now, and it's just sad. And it's all part of a plan to devalue black people, leave some money out of them. And I'm not going to stand for that. Make sure you vote for the right people. Make sure you bring it up. Your senators, your representatives, make sure they support keeping certain Dodd-Franks in place and also redressing the issues of the past. Keep that in mind. You don't have to drink the Democratic Kool-Aid.